Are you going to put it?
Come on now, fellas! We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go!
Hello, everyone. Welcome in to a Wednesday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow alongside Mo Patton, as always. And boy, are we excited to be here on this Wednesday. It's a wild and wacky Wednesday, and we've got the weirdest and wildest news coming up later in the show. We've also got Heather Williams and CBS bracketologist Jerry Palm set to join us today. It's going to be a good one, Mo.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting Jerry Palm's thoughts on a few things. I think this would have been a livelier discussion 3 weeks ago.
Probably.
But I think some things have kind of settled in, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because the really intriguing part is less about the 1-2 seeds and more about who's the last team in, who's the last team out, what teams have got to do over this last weekend in order to solidify spots, or, who's got some work to do. Really curious about Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really the thing I'm most curious to ask him about.
Have they played their way onto the bubble or high up onto the
close,
bubble?
Yeah. So I'll be interested to hear his conversation. And, he may just say it simply depends this weekend.
And next week.
I mean, if they beat Kentucky, that kind of thing. Who knows? But, yeah, so we are looking forward to having a great show, and we'll get right into it because we've got a lot to get to. So let's go ahead and give you yesterday's results and one from today and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
High school boys basketball from Tuesday night. There we go. Yeah, these are all region semifinals. So again, winners move on, losers are done. Green Hill defeated Beach 52-49. Blackman down Cane Ridge 50-33. It was Cascade defeating Whites Creek 73-54. Rossview with a 77-56 win over Clarksville. Dixon County defeated Clarksville Northwest 59-42. East Robertson with a 74-59 win over Knowledge Academies, which means we can't go to the mall at Hickory Hollow and see them play. Fairview with a 55-45 win over White House Heritage. Giles County defeated Cheatham County 85-73. Murfreesboro Central 47, Hillwood 43, Watertown 34, Jackson County 31. Hendersonville with a little bit of a shocker, defeating Lebanon 52-49. Matching scores in the Region 5 for a semifinals, actually. Independence with a 60, I'm sorry, I skipped one. Martin Luther King 54, Portland 38. Independence with a 63-32 win over Nolensville. Coverage at Main Street Murray. Pearl Cone with a shocker in a big fashion, defeats East Nashville 69-64, ends East Nashville's undefeated run ends East Nashville's season, ends East Nashville's reign as Class 2A defending state champion. There will be a new state champion in 2A this year. Pickett County defeats Joe Burns 59-49. Hillsborough with a 61-53 win over Ravenwood. Laverne defeated Rockville 50-42. It was Stone Memorial downing Spring Hill 72-49. York Institute with a 54-49 win over Westmoreland. And White County with the nail biter 71-70 over Lawrence County.
Men's college basketball action. Lipscomb down Stetson 83-70 in ASUN play. And Tennessee scored 75. Arkansas flipped it, scored just 57 as the Vols get the win.
Flip that thing and reverse it.
Earlier today, Texas A&M ends Vanderbilt's women's season with a 77-70 win in the SEC tournament. Baseball yesterday, Vanderbilt scores 8 in the 7th, I think. 8 runs in the 7th inning to beat Austin Peay 11-7. Tennessee downs Charleston Southern 6-1. It was Belmont 10, MTSU 7. Tennessee Tech 10-5 winners over Lipscomb. Cumberland downs Bryan College 9-8. And UT Southern with an 8-7 win over 6th ranked Faulkner. How about that?
Okay.
In junior college play, Calhoun takes a pair from Vol State. Calhoun out of Decatur, Alabama, 8-7 and 6-4. And Columbia State went down to Hanceville. That's how you say it. It's Vol. 12-8, a win there for the Chargers. NBA action last night. John Morant triple-double leads the Grizzlies. 121 win over the Lakers and an absolute nasty win.
No.
That dunk that you put
on
Twitter
on Jalen Jackson Jr.
Jackson.
Yeah, so I thought you were saying Ja had a
I
nasty
was
dunk.
just
No.
saying in the game. That putback dunk was disgusting.
Oh, goodness gracious. Go gadget arm there, yeah.
And in NHL action, the Preds led for about 51 minutes. Then the Penguins scored 3 unanswered to take a 3-1 win against Nashville at Newcombe.
Girls basketball action tonight. These are, with one exception, region championship games. Both the winners and the losers will go on to sectional play on Saturday night. So in Region 4-2A, down at Community High School in Unionville, it will be East Nashville taking on the Vikings, not Vikings. Right. 7 o'clock tip. Region 5-2A at Fairview, Summertown is playing Loretto. Let me repeat that. Summertown is playing Loretto at Fairview.
First of all, Summertown playing Loretto, no surprise here. But it's unfortunate that they have to drive all the way to Western
Williamson County. Yeah.
Way out there.
At any rate, you can keep up with that one. We will be providing Twitter updates, and we will have coverage before the end of the night on Main Street.
You'll have service there somehow. Maybe.
We'll see. Now that you mention it. Region 5-3A at Liberty Creek, Murfreesboro Central takes on Creekwood. That's a 7 o'clock tip as well. At Blackman, Region 4-4A, the host Lady Blaze face Stewart's Creek. 5-4A, Green Hill and Cookville at Mount Juliet. In Region 6-4A, it's Brentwood and the host Lady Burrows of Hillsborough. And in Region 7-4A, it's Dixon County and the host Clarksville Lady Wildcats. Again, those are all 7 o'clock tips. Tomorrow in Division 2A state tournament action, Middle Tennessee Christian girls face Christian Academy of Knoxville at 12 noon at Tennessee Tech.
Men's action tonight. Vanderbilt goes to Rupp to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. 6 o'clock SEC Network tip. And on ESPN2, Alabama will try for the outright regular season SEC championship as they go to Auburn and Neville Arena at 6 o'clock on ESPN2. OVC tournament action. The Tennessee State Tigers take on SIU Edwardsville at 3:30 on ESPN Plus. And an ASUN tournament play, it's Florida Gulf Coast and Lipscomb at 6 tonight on ESPN Plus. Baseball action today. Charleston Southern is still at Tennessee. That's a 3:30 first pitch on SEC Network Plus. And in NBA action, the Grizzlies headed to Houston to take on the Rockets. That's a 7 o'clock tip on Valley Sports South, and that is your rundown. Let's go to our Twitter feed and see that dunk. Try to pull it up full screen, Justin.
On it. You're gonna
This
hear
JJJ dunk here. That's fine.
Okay, yeah. The reaction is the best part.
Here's the miss floater, and I don't know how he got his arm back that far, but boy, it was disgusting.
Look at Ja.
I know, Jaws.
Ja's face is worth it. Here it is again.
I mean, just an absolute thing of beauty.
You can't put your head down.
It looked like his arm reached back to the dotted line.
Did AD get like popped in the face there? Is that what happened? Is that why he's out?
He's out. I mean, his ego's gone.
Watch this right here.
Oh,
you see him? Look at him. He's holding his nose.
Jaws.
you know why? Because that dunk was so stinky.
Oh,
let's see you.
That was interesting. What a incredible dunk there.
That's
oh my goodness.
Let's tell you what. Since you've got Twitter pulled up, and I know you can get to it fairly quickly, Justin. This is not our top story, but we do want to get to it because there were 8 players ejected in the SEC women's basketball tournament in the game between Florida and Kentucky.
Now this game is currently ongoing, right?
This game is happening right now. And I don't know what's going on.
Now you know.
Okay. So we had a little.
She wants all the smoke too. Look,
she does. She is not backing down.
She is the smoke.
Yeah. This is insane.
Oh my goodness.
So now I'm not sure exactly why 8 players were ejected, but
somebody came off the bench. I bet.
Well,
they all, yeah.
Well, it looked like she went to the bench. Florida players didn't have to come off.
Bro, she sprinted down that court so fast at whoever.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kentucky players. Florida's wearing white.
This is crazy.
But
what'd you get mad at? Oh, that.
Oh, she pushed the ball in her face though. But still, you can't do that.
I mean, if she played
I guess you can.
I mean, watch her walk down the court with purpose.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
she's right here. She's purposeful. She's got a purpose.
Yeah,
and then we go.
And one of her teammates knew, oh no, nothing good can come of this.
Because you know the girl said something.
Look at 13. It's
you don't just start running just for the heck of it. Like the girl said, it's like, come on. And so she did.
Bro, if I didn't know someone was mad at me like that or like that at that size and they threw a basketball at me and I turned around and they were running towards me, yeah, I don't know what I would do.
All right, let's see if there's any news stories up right now. I don't see anything. I don't see anything out there giving us any definitive information as to what exactly is happening.
I'll try to do some digging.
So maybe we get to it a little bit later in the show, but that's woof, man, that's something. Anyway, we do have a top story today.
1A.
Top story A. 1A. Here is University of Georgia's Jalen Carter has a warrant out for his arrest in connection with the fatal accident that killed a Georgia player and staffer.
Mm-hmm.
His draft stock right now is taking a hit. I don't know how long that's going to last. Don't know that it should last. But Mo, this is an interesting situation because as I saw a guy earlier who basically said, look, you're months away from changing your entire life and you make this decision to go street racing. I
don't know if it was necessarily a decision to go street racing. It sounds like they were out and were just racing coming back or something. I don't know. I mean, I don't know all the details, but I feel a little uncomfortable discussing the impact of this incident or of this development on Jalen Carter's draft status. When again, you mentioned this was a situation that resulted in the death of a teammate and a Georgia staffer as well. So there's a lot going on here, but
now the arrest warrant is, again, you said
It's a misdemeanor.
Misdemeanor.
The Athens-Clarke County Police Department's warrant alleges Carter was driving recklessly and racing, both misdemeanors, according to CBSSports.com.
Which basically traffic violations. I mean, reckless endangerment could get a little bit heavier, but that's they're the equivalent. I mean, this is most misdemeanors are a fine, court cost, and maybe some community service, something like that, especially if you've never been in trouble before. It doesn't, if it affects his draft status, and I think this is the only way that it could is potentially, boy, that's poor decision making. But who among us at 22, 23 years old didn't make poor decisions?
There's sorry to cut you off, Chris. There's a statement that was released by Jalen Carter about the issue.
Do you have it?
Question? I do, and I'll bring it up right now.
All right. I'm going to go full screen so that I can see this thing. All right.
This morning, I received a telephone call from the Athens, Georgia Police Department informing me that 2 misdemeanor warrants have been issued against me for reckless driving and racing. Numerous media reports have also circulated this morning containing inaccurate information concerning the tragic events of January 15, 2023. It is my intention to return to Athens to answer the misdemeanor charges against me and to make certain that the complete and accurate truth is presented. There is no question in my mind that when all of the facts are known, that I will be fully exonerated of any criminal wrongdoing. That's interesting because, if he was racing, he was racing.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You're basically saying that the inaccurate information is coming from the police, and that very well may be true.
Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and say that because the police said it, it must be the truth. But
actually, if we did say that on the air, we might get out of jury duty
for this one anyway. But I don't know. I don't know where the inaccurate information is.
Here's from the Athens-Clarke County Police. The investigation found that Chandler LaCroix, driver of the 2021 Ford Expedition, and Jalen Carter, driver of a 2021 Jeep Trackhawk, were operating their vehicles in a manner consistent with racing shortly after leaving the downtown Athens area about 2:30 a.m. The evidence demonstrated that both vehicles switched between lanes, drove in the center turn lane, drove in opposite lanes of travel, overtook other motorists, and drove at high rates of speed in an apparent attempt to outdistance each other. Evidence indicated that shortly before the crash, the Expedition was traveling about 104 miles per hour. Toxicology reports indicated that LaCroix's blood alcohol concentration was 0.197 at the time of the crash. Investigators determined that alcohol impairment, racing, reckless driving, and speed were significant contributing factors to the crash.
What's interesting to me is, again, according to CBSSports.com, Carter left the scene of the crash for more than an hour before returning to the scene and providing statements to police. But there's no lead charge. There's also no mention on this.
Per the report from the AJC, he gave shifting accounts of the wreck as an Athens police officer questioned him about whether he had been racing the car that crashed. And was summoned back to the scene of the crash by Georgia Director of Player Support and Operations Bryant Gant at the request of police after Gant came to the scene of the crash. So they got surveillance video
of him going away from the car?
No, they have surveillance video of the vehicles traveled, the route the vehicles traveled the night of the crash. The crash happened in early morning hours, blah, blah, blah.
So there were street cameras somewhere?
Apparently somewhere there were.
What's interesting to me, particularly in this CBS Sports article, and I don't know if that's in whatever you're reading, Carter was driving a 2021 Jeep Cherokee Trackhawk with a Hellcat V8 motor during the incident, a vehicle he received as part of an NIL deal with an Ohio luxury car dealership. What does that have to do with anything?
Nothing.
Are you
But
talking
I
about the
do
mention of the car?
I do think it's interesting. I mean, just that it's interesting. That's a heck of a that's a heck of a deal. And I'm just saying that's an interesting Jeep Track Hawk with a
V8.
V8 Hellcat in it. Are you kidding me?
I don't know.
First of all, why are you racing that? Why are you racing someone who has that? The other guy must not have known.
Well, the other Chandler LaCroix, the Georgia staffer, was driving the Expedition, which was a university supplied vehicle.
Definitely didn't have a Hellcat in it. I can tell you that for sure.
But it's an Expedition, though, so it surely had a V8 in it.
Oh, yeah.
I love this.
I'm wondering what the connection is between Jalen Carter and the Ohio dealership. Is he from?
Must be from there or that area. It's the only thing I can think of. But for him to say he's going to be he feels he'll be fully exonerated of any criminal wrongdoing. I mean, you must feel like you got a great lawyer and good for you. But
Birthplace of Pop, Florida.
I was going to ask y'all. I mean, do you think that what
he
kind
played
of
at Bishop Sycamore?
How does that reflect on him? You think with that statement? Because I mean,
well, I think the reflection is, like Chris said a second ago, it's not the greatest decision making in the world, but
to put it out like that,
but as all of our parents have told us, nothing good happens after midnight either. So,
well, I mean, like him releasing a statement about it immediately.
Yeah,
it's a good move.
That's the thing. I mean, to come out and say, profess your innocence,
like real quick. Yes.
I don't know what else you're gonna do.
I think what I would have said is, it is my intention to return to Athens to answer the misdemeanor charges against me to make certain the complete and accurate truth is presented.
Yeah, something.
You leave that last sentence out.
Yeah, I didn't do nothing at the end.
No, yeah, I was just with them. Well, the with them defense don't work all the time. I mean, trust me, I've seen enough cop shows to know that if you're with them, you're guilty a lot of times. So it's you got to be careful because look, now you've compounded the situation with a lie. Yeah, if you go back and you answer and they show you the evidence and you go, crap, I gotta plead this thing. Or you got to go to trial, as Master P would say.
Take it to trial.
So, I mean, do you take your chances being Jalen Carter in an Athens, Georgia jury? I mean,
don't comment. No comment. I'm just going to say SEC athletes in SEC towns.
I'm just saying maybe it's not a bad idea. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know. I just think I think he probably should have let last sentence out. Mm-hmm. It can only hurt him if he does end up having to plea it. And truly, if he does plea it, this is, again, probably not going to carry any jail time. It's going to be maybe a large fine, but he's about to make millions.
Maybe a particularly large fine in light of the fact that he is about to make millions.
So, I mean, there's that.
But now here's the next question. And for the second time in a couple of weeks, we'll be making this comment. Does this put him in line for a potential wrongful death lawsuit?
See, that's what I was thinking. I mean, obviously not as bad as Henry Ruggs, but I mean, sort of in that realm, right? Or no?
Well, I think there's a difference between Henry Ruggs and that Chandler LaCroix also made the decision to drive 104 miles per hour.
Right.
Henry Ruggs.
Definitely more serious than Henry Ruggs' situation.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. And I think that's why.
Right.
Because, it was, he didn't make that decision, which, I mean, nor did Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller didn't make the decision for what's his name, Buster or whatever dude's nickname was. That allegedly pulled the trigger in that Tuscaloosa incident. But yeah, I don't think so, but I don't know.
Yeah. As long as we are in the top story section of our show, a window. Yeah. Oh, never mind. You've got it on the run of show. We'll get to it later.
Okay. Well, let's get to it later because standing by is Heather Williams, who will talk a little about Fontana, Kyle Busch, new rules that have been announced recently, and of course this weekend in Las Vegas. So stick around. Heather Williams return with us right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com. Welcome back into Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow and Mo Patton here on this wild and wacky Wednesday. And unfortunately, Mo, I know at least you'll be in your home county tonight, but be weather aware. Storm's coming. So all of you folks out there, if you're going to a hoops game tonight, be weather aware, especially here in Middle Tennessee. Not sure what it's going to be in East Tennessee, but I'm certain Heather Williams knows somebody who can tell her what the weather is going to be out there.
I think she can find somebody. Yeah, absolutely.
But so Heather is there. She is. She's back. Heather Williams joins us now, and we were just saying, Heather, you could probably find somebody to tell you what the weather's going to be like if you needed to. We just know it's going to be kind of tough here in Middle Tennessee. So,
I think it's going to be pretty rough here. I guess on Friday is when the bad weather's going to hit here. But the good news for NASCAR, they're racing in the desert, which means it'll probably rain because that's what NASCAR does. It brings weather.
Well, if it does rain, this is not one of the tracks that they'll be using wet weather gear. But if they are using wet weather packages, Heather, let's just start there. New rules, a little change to the spoilers, and maybe some other things. Tell us about what NASCAR ruled this week.
Well, as far as the wet weather goes, they're going to try the wet weather packages. I guess at the flatter short tracks. So if they need it at Phoenix, Martinsville, I'm trying to think here, New Hampshire and North Wilkesboro, I think are the ones that they're going to try to use that. I think it's a great idea. I mean, they're not going to run in the pouring down rain. It's kind of like the road courses. We tried the road course once and it didn't work, right? They were all slamming in the back of them because of the water flying off the back of the cars. But, if it's a little bit wet and drizzly, who wants to, miss a race and not get to go to a race that you spend a lot of money on because it's drizzling or it's just barely having weepers on the track or whatever. So I think that is a great thing for NASCAR to give that a try. Most of those tracks, you them anyway, because they don't generally race at a time where it's wet. But who thought we were going to have snow at California this week, right? We did. So I think that's a great change.
Yeah, and just it's supposed to increase the downforce, which I assume if it is wet, that will help.
Short tracks, the change in the downforce help with the passing. As good as the next gen car was last year, it was not good on the short tracks, and obviously that's the racing that most people like the most. At least fans say that they do. So in increasing the downforce, they're hoping to dirty up the air and make the cars get disrupted a little bit more, so that there can be more passing in the races, especially at the short tracks. The passing's been pretty good on the bigger tracks, but it's lacked at the short track. So they're hoping by adjusting the spoiler and dirtying up the air a little bit that they can create more passing on places like Bristol and Martinsville, the tracks that everybody says they love, but the places where the racing was not very good last year.
It's understandable. Racing was good this weekend out in Fontana, and Kyle Busch, race number 2, second time he's led at the flag at the end of the last advertised lap. So that's the best way to put it. Pretty obvious that he's going to be tough to deal with this new team.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering with Kyle if it was just one of those things where a change was just needed, like the two sides had run out their course, because Denny Hamlin on his podcast this week said that Joe Gibbs Racing actually made a pretty good offer to Kyle, and that Kyle turned it down. And, sometimes, whether it's in the job or in a relationship, sometimes we just need to change, and we don't always know that we need the change. Sometimes you have to be pushed out of that. And I think in Kyle's instance, it was just time for a change, that things had gotten a little static, a little stale at JGR for him. But he's shown, because he was right up there at the front of the class, finished third, as you said, leading at the end of the scheduled distance at Daytona, and then won this week. So he's been up front every week. And I think we are going to see that Kyle Busch still has it. Reports on his demise were maybe a little bit
greatly exaggerated. Yeah.
Oh, farewell Fontana. Boy, that seems a little. I mean,
it's difficult for me to see at this point how they're going to keep racing there. They keep saying they're going to build this short track there, but they sold all but 89 acres out there. The original acreage on Bristol was 100. And it's much, much bigger now. I think it's more like 300. So just to compare, that's a mile and a half high banked racetrack. So it's my point of reference to living here. I don't know. Now they're going to build some other things around there that will intrinsically have housing and parking and those kinds of things, so that they won't necessarily need to have all that, kind of similar to what's going on with Kansas Speedway, where there's a lot of shops and things that are packed around the racetrack. But even still, Kansas has more space because A, it's a bigger track, but B, it's got the parking that they all control as well. So I don't know how you can put a track on 89 acres and it be successful, but
got to build up.
Yeah, as of right now, NASCAR is holding its ground and saying we're going to build this track. So I guess we'll see. But I think most people feel like that might have been the last track, and it's time we race at that track, and it's definitely the last time we will race on a 2-mile track there.
Yeah, that's it's kind of sad, but obviously there are some folks around the country who wouldn't mind seeing an extra date pop up here in Nashville. Folks in Kentucky would certainly,
but the thing is with Kentucky, and I said this about North Wilkesboro, and they're lucky enough to get their date back, but they didn't support the race when they had it. And North Wilkesboro was very much the same way. We'd still be racing in North Wilkesboro, never would have closed in the first place. People would have shown up. And it's the same with Kentucky. Kentucky lost its date because nobody went to that race. I went to that race for 5 years in a row, and I never saw a sellout. I never saw anything
boring.
Roach to sell out. Well, that's true. That's true. But do you want to race, or do you not want to race?
Well, no, I understand it, but the positive is that with the
to me, that's boring.
Well, the positive is that with the next gen car, you think that it would be less boring.
It would probably be much better racing. You know, there are Major League Baseball teams that are awful, like my
Mhm.
Royals. Do you want a team or do you not want a team? If you want a team, you support it no matter what the level of competition is.
Sure.
Royals, I watch the games on TV. When I'm home, I go to games. Even though, other than for about a 3-year period in my life, recently in about a 10-year period early in my life, they've been atrocious. But do you want a team or do you not want a team? Do you want to race or do you not want to race?
Sure.
Make all kinds of excuses otherwise. And I mean, that's something that Nashville will eventually have to face. That every track has to face. It was going on. The Fontana attendance was down for a while until they talked about possibly getting rid of the race. You have to come to terms with, do you want it or do you not? You can't control the product as a fan. You can't control it. And so you either support it unconditionally or you risk losing it.
We'll say this. Attendance has not been great at most NASCAR tracks over the last 20 years. It's certainly been
it's been down.
It's been down.
Compared to other sports, and this is where NASCAR fans I don't think they live in a reality.
Yeah. That's so true.
There's so many places where they don't, but this is one of them. It's been down, but comparatively speaking, it has not been down. Just to give you an example, because again, I live in Bristol. Bristol holds roughly, with the seats they've taken out and all that kind of stuff, maybe 115 to 120,000 people. Consistently for the night race, and they don't give out attendance, so it's kind of eyeballing, but most people estimate for the last few night races they've been about 100,000 fans there. And for the spring race, there's been between 60 and 75. And people constantly complain about how Bristol attendance is down and nobody goes to Bristol and Bristol's dying. We're going to lose a race. How many NFL fans average 75,000 stadiums average 75,000 people a year?
One.
Yeah. So
Green Bay.
Is NASCAR really in trouble? Or is it just compared to what it was when you had 3 things to watch on the TV and nothing to do? So
Sure.
everyone going to the track because there were 3 stations and you couldn't even see NASCAR on TV. Like if you wanted to see NASCAR, you had to go to the track. Now I can watch it on my phone. So
from my bathroom.
or from your kid's soccer game or whatever.
Sure.
So it's just different. And I think but why would you go to Fontana that has 15,000 people when you could go to Nashville that will have 40? I mean, it's just that's where the question really becomes.
And I think that's kind of, that's part of the reason that a lot of these tracks are, and not just tracks, but sports stadiums in general, Atlanta, the Battery, Nashville, if they build it, they're going to build that entertainment district around it. You've got to give people an additional reason to come to your event at a major stadium. You just do. And so if Fontana does build it, they'll probably see an increase in folks there.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. As a fan, when you watch the race at Kansas, what do you think of that?
I mean, it's really good. I mean, it's cookie cutter track, but it's okay.
But one of the more popular destinations in the track, because there is on the circuit, from people that travel on the circuit, from people that go to a lot of races, because there's a soccer stadium, there's a baseball stadium, there's a Great Wolf Lodge, there's lots of restaurants, shopping center, all within walking distance of that track. And so that's what I think in Fontana, if this works, what they're going to have to try to emulate is to have more to do there than just racing.
Well, and that's why it works in Las Vegas. You like that segue there?
Same thing.
So that's where we'll be this weekend. With plenty to do.
It's a little heavy-handed, but it works. Yeah.
It was good.
That's where we'll be this weekend.
Who knows? there's always such a variable. Las Vegas is a difficult track because it's one of those tracks that if somebody hits it the right way, it can be a stinker. Even with the next gen car, you can have one guy just absolutely dominant. But because the 1.5 mile packages have been so good with the next gen car, it also can be super racy. So I like this track just because it's one of the more entertaining, in my opinion, big tracks. As long as somebody doesn't absolutely hit it and stink up the show. But there's so many different drivers that can be competitive at this track that I think it makes it really interesting.
Las Vegas high school graduate and 12-year veteran outfielder of the Philadelphia Phillies and National League Most Valuable Player twice, Bryce Harper will be the Grand Marshal for Sunday's Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube.
That's a good get for them. So what's he doing? Is he taking off from spring training to go out there and do that?
It's Bryce Harper. Does he spring train?
Yeah, also fair. But then maybe it's a Sunday travel day. It's a long travel across Arizona.
Yeah,
I was about to say.
Well,
and
it's the Nationals, aren't they in Florida?
No, the Phillies are in Arizona.
That's right. Jesus, where am I thinking? The Phillies are in Florida, though, right? Phillies spring train.
Oh,
that's a good question.
Phillies are
gonna have to Google that now.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank
you.
Somebody kick him out. Turning his ring and his tie tag. Baycare Park. That sounds like Florida to me.
Yeah, it does sound like Florida.
That's all I know. I don't know any bays in Arizona.
There are no bays in Arizona.
Oh, like that
straight does have oceanfront for Arizona.
Like that stops.
That's true.
We have Los Angeles Lakers.
Clearwater.
Baycare Ballpark is in Clearwater.
Yeah. So they're
Florida.
not in Arizona. So it will be a cross country trip.
But
it will be.
Yeah, in fairness, I think Bryce can probably afford a private jet. He's probably got a Wheels Up subscription or whatever it is. Yeah. So
maybe Justin, maybe Joe Elvis will be flying him. Who knows?
Hey, he'll let you know. He'll definitely let you know. He loves talking about who he flew. He flew Obama once. I would
I'd probably talk
about that too.
Yeah.
Anyway, Heather,
it's a pretty cool thing. I'm not gonna lie.
I know you well enough.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Heather, who's going to win this weekend?
So it's difficult because, like I said, somebody could just find something in the sim and just hit on it right away and be good at this track. But my crew chief friend, Chris Carrier, I just finished wrapping up our little weekly segment that we do with him. And he seems convinced this is a Joey Logano week. Chris has been around the sport for a long time and knows a lot more than I do about the sport. And he very rarely goes out on a limb and makes a pick, especially unsolicited. So if he thinks that Joey Logano is going to be pretty good this week, he's a former Penske employee. He must know something I don't. So I'm going to go with Joey Logano.
All right. Well, how about this? Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez, our friends at Trackhouse Racing, finishing back-to-back 3-4 this past week. So that's a solid week for them. Would love to see them continue that success. But, I got a feeling, Heather, that this is going to be another year like it was 2 years ago, where Kyle Larson just dominated every time he was on the track. I think Kyle Busch might be that guy this year. And if he's on the track, I may not bet against him. And especially hometown dude, hometown track, you never know.
Next gen car will allow someone to win that many races again. He might be the car every week, but I just don't think that the way that it is, I don't think that we'll see that again. I just don't think that it's possible to see that again. The passing is not as easy. So one bad qualifying, one incident, and it just becomes more difficult. You could be wrong. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I just don't see. I think Kyle's going to be in the mix every week, but I just don't think we're going to see someone win 10 wins for a long time.
I don't. Here's my argument against that, and I think that, and you're probably right, just because you have to have everything go right when there are so many good cars around you. But my argument to that is, if everything is equal, Kyle Busch is in the top 2 or 3 people I would want driving my car. With everything else being equal, Kyle Busch is maybe the guy that I would pick.
That's fair, but I will also throw this at you. Race car drivers don't forget. And I said Kyle Busch now, but Kyle Busch has raced pretty much everybody in that field on the dirty. And if he starts a bunch of races, other drivers in the field all of a sudden going to make their cars 5 and 6 lanes wide and impossible to pass for him. So I don't know.
You may, yeah, that's absolutely a good thought. So
I tell you what, that's the insight
I was about to say,
that we look for when we
Yeah.
bring Heather Williams at WCYB_Heather in here on Main Street Sports Today, because, you know, it's amazing the guests that we're able to get.
and I'm not around the sport the way that she is, but you know, and that's what I love, is that I can throw out my uneducated thoughts and opinions and get a legitimately good feedback from that. I love that.
And
So,
sometimes even some validation, right?
sometimes.
Yeah, in my opinion, just an opinion too. I will let you know that I am in last place in my fantasy racing league right now. So
After 2 races.
it's all a crap.
It's a long season, Heather.
It is. It's a marathon, not a sprint, Heather. It's okay.
the Chiefs won, okay?
It is.
Yeah, take that.
Celebrate.
It's this
I
is
just
your
dropped my
karma for that.
flag the other day. So
Oh, well, we appreciate it, and we look forward to talking with you next week and continuing to get the great insight that you give us each and every weekend. We appreciate it.
we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Heather Williams, WCYB TV out of the Tri-Cities. And again, no better
Also,
content.
she does a podcast on the backstretch.
That's right.
So if you are into NASCAR a little bit more than what we give you, check that out.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, some high school hoops news coming out of the TSSAA Board of Control meeting. Also, NFL Combine additional information there. You know, there are things going on that don't include, impending arrests up there. So we'll talk about that, and some bad news for Tennessee basketball. So stick around right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Dinosaurs and humans can coexist, at least at the Nashville Zoo, starting March 10th. So go check that out.
You're killing it today, dude.
Oh, man. We're happy to be here on this Wild and Wacky Wednesday. Mo Patton, Chris Yow, and a slew of fantastic guests this week, next week, coming to you every week. Had a great time yesterday talking with Scott Rabelais, and we just kept going yesterday with
Scott did not tell us that there would be a brawl
He did not.
today, though.
He missed that memo, I guess. But I really wanted to talk to him about the live situation, because did you see how many viewers they had on their first weekend on CW?
I did not.
Like 360,000 total viewers total. So yeah, not looking great for the Live Golf Tour.
What was their? Did they have like a goal? Do you know any ballpark goal they had? I'm sure. I mean, no.
Well, the PGA had 2.68 million viewers on Sunday.
2.68 million. 360,000.
Yeah.
Carry the one. And then,
yeah, exactly. Carry the one and multiply.
Yeah,
it's pretty ridiculous that, and look, that's what spring football battles with, validation, being new, and folks.
Yeah, but I don't think spring football has the negative connotations surround that it's fighting to the degree that Live Golf
I think
is.
there's different negative. I mean, it's not real football is the biggest, around spring football. But other than that, I mean, it's still football. This is still golf, and they've got some of the best in the world doing it. They can wear shorts, Mo.
Did you see that Sally Jenkins column from the Washington Post
Did
last
not.
week? You need to find it, because she pretty well, when you talk about some of the best, she went into detail about how much of a misperception that is.
about the shorts.
So
About some of the best golfers. I mean,
Right.
look,
some of the best names, maybe.
As a golf fan, I think it feels like they're trying to poach. You know what I mean? Live is. So that's how I feel about it. That's why I don't like them. Which that connotation you guys are talking about, you're referring to, Mo, about how it doesn't.
kind of like the USFL in the 80s.
That's
Mhm.
true, yeah, right. I'm like,
Steve Young, Jim Kelly, Herschel Walker.
Right.
I mean, they weren't poaching players from the NFL, but they were certainly drafting them and paying them the same contracts, or maybe better contracts than they would have gotten in the NFL. So,
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. When I say some of the best in the world, I don't care if the people who are playing Live Golf are a lot closer to Tiger Woods than I am to them. And
Well,
so,
I mean, if that's your standard,
the
then
relative-
okay.
the relativeness, these are still professional golfers. These are not guys that they got off the street,
oh, yeah.
And I mean, so there's just, it's interesting. It's just a terrible TV contract is what it is. It's a terrible TV contract.
But
the
it's
CW.
but it's the best contract they could get,
It is
which
the best
is
contract they could
an
get.
indication of something.
It's tough. It's got to be tough, but I'm not going there. Don't care. I don't care. I'm not going to watch golf either way. If it's not the Masters or the Open, I'm probably not watching. Earlier today, Mo, the shot clock in Tennessee has been approved for testing and will be tested.
For testing, let's stress that
Yes.
it's been improved for testing. And how are they going to test it?
Well, they're going to test it this summer in those BCAT tournaments that they have, the summer camps that help officials and coaches.
Now, what does that mean?
It will be for data collection. So they'll probably play the games, get the players, coaches, and officials to maybe fill out some survey forms on how they liked it. They'll probably say, this is how many times the official messed up resetting the shot clock. This is how many times we missed a shot clock violation.
How many violations?
How many violations are there? That sort of thing. So I think it's probably I love that they're testing it. I don't know who else has tested it that has eventually implemented it, or didn't implement it, but I love the idea of testing.
Why?
Well, because it gives you an argument either way. It gives you a good basis of if we're gonna have this conversation, the best way to say, look, it's not going to work. We tried it. We tested it. It didn't work.
I don't even think it's a matter of whether or not it will work. I don't know what will it work means. I don't know what will it work looks like, but I can tell you that there are some teams. And again, my argument for the whole thing is I don't control my talent at the high school level. And so I don't fully understand what the argument for the shot clock is at the high school level, but my argument against it as a coach would be, if I feel like I need to take more than 24 seconds or whatever the number is, yes, 24, 30, 45, whatever it is, if I feel like I need to take more than that to put up a shot, I should be able to do that. And if I can get my kids to execute, I should be able to do that. And if you want me to shoot quicker, come out and defend me.
My argument against it is, well, in addition to that, is that, do you see how bad college offenses are?
I mean, that's an argument. That's a factor. That's a point.
High school offenses are going to be even worse.
I just think strictly from a high school level, again, if you got a bunch of 5'10", 160-pound kids and you need to make 8 passes before you put a shot up to try to even things up a little bit, and you can do it, you should be able to. I don't know that anybody can hold the ball for a minute and a half these days without turning it over, to be honest. But I mean, if you can, you should be able to.
I have a question. Y'all talk to many coaches all the time. What's the sentiment around, like, how do they are feeling about it? Do they want the shot clock? I mean, I've heard yeses, I've heard no's.
That's us.
I think it's a little, I don't know that it's balanced necessarily, but I have heard both. I think one of the most disingenuous points regarding adapting the shot clock is the development of players for the next level. Because how many players are going to the next level?
1%.
So,
and those players can adapt to anything.
Yeah, it's not going to be an issue.
The other 98% of high school players don't need to adapt to it.
And then there's the financial aspect of it. You got to put 2 clocks in, one at each end. You got to install them. You got to have somebody to run them.
They're saying $2,000 to $3,000 is what it would cost to put shot clocks in individual gyms.
In each gym.
$2,000 to $3,000.
Okay, so here in Murray County, which is where we are, you got 6 high schools?
7 after Battle Creek.
Once maybe they can just roll that into the price of building it. But I mean, you got 6 high schools that you got to retrofit shot clocks to.
And where do you put them? On the wall?
Got to. Where are you going to put a shot clock at Culleoka?
Someone just going to hold it.
You can't. Yes. the line judge in volleyball.
Worst job ever.
Or what's the guy that with the boom box in the 80s movie?
You should bail yourself.
Guy gonna hold it just in the corner,
like the red flag for commercials or whatever.
Yes,
it goes off.
Have a stick. The red hat
with the clock on top.
It hits 0. He yells out.
I guess I don't know.
That's awesome. That was great.
That's as good of an. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, Culleoka, Hampshire. Hampshire's going to put. Hampshire will end its basketball program before they spend $3,000 on shot clocks. You got the three unit schools: Central, Mount Pleasant, and Spring Hill, and then Battle Creek coming up. And then, I mean, it just.
And then somebody's got to run it.
That's the thing, is it is a continual cost, because you're going to have to pay somebody $35 to $40 a game to do it.
And good luck when you're struggling to find people to run the game clock.
The fact that they allow coaches to run the game clock is, never mind. That's neither here nor there. Anyway,
it's not a good idea. And people that say they don't want to watch X don't.
Well, I tell you what. Why don't we have Bruce Slatton on Friday at 2:20, and we'll ask him what their plans are this summer for testing the shot clock and what that means.
Sounds like a good idea.
Well, then it's settled. We'll have Bruce Slatton on at 2:20 on Friday. We already had this discussion, and he will be joining us. The director, president of BCAT. I don't know what his title is, but
the Grand Poobah.
The guy in charge of BCAT, which is the Basketball Coaches Association of Tennessee.
Yeah.
So there you go. Again, this is like the third day in a row I've tried to get to NFL Combine news, and we haven't gotten to it, but that's okay.
But that's okay, because
we have Jerry Palm standing by. Who's going to talk a little bracketology, and we'll also talk about what the impact is of Zakai Ziegler going down for Tennessee.
And we will conclusively get some NFL Combine talk tomorrow.
We will.
When we have Greg Doyle of the Indianapolis Star joining us. So we're going to get it in eventually.
We're going to get it in eventually. There you go. But Jerry Palm is standing by, so we will get to him in just a moment. So stick around here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. We'll be back after this.
Stephanie Miller from Mornings on Main Street. Join us March 23rd at Bridgestone Arena with the Nashville Predators for Main Street Media Night. I know Devin O'Day will be here.
You know I will be, Stephanie. Plus, you can register for a Predators prize pack. They were going to call it the Hockey Hootenanny, but they changed. So it's going to have 4 tickets and food vouchers. You got to register to win.
We're looking forward to seeing all of our Main Street Sports Today fans, right, Chris?
Absolutely, we are. And we could not do this without, of course, our owner, Dave Gould, and our friends here at Smashville.
Speaking of,
where is Dave?
We will see you March 23rd for Main Street Media Night. Let's go, Prince!
Do I have the wrong night?
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Chris, Yow and Maurice Patton, and we will be, in fact, at Bridgestone Arena March 23rd. That's a Thursday night, and I wish I knew who they played, Mo, but I just don't know that off the top of my head, and that's okay.
We should.
But it will be March 23rd. That's a Thursday at Bridgestone Arena. You can register at mainstreetmediatn.com. That's the new website that you can you can go sign up now for all of our publications, including Main Street Nashville, Main Street Preps, and much, much more in Main Street Murray as well. You can subscribe at mainstreetmediatn.com. Click on that advertisement and sign up for your chance to win a family 4-pack and food vouchers.
If you can stall just a little longer.
Just a little longer.
Just a little longer.
Well, anyway.
Release the Kraken.
Uh-oh, the return.
Oh yeah, Ely Tolvin and the Seattle Kraken will be in the house. So yeah,
Mo, when you
should
said
be fun.
muted no, I died laughing. I was muted, but I was laughing so hard.
The return of Ely Tolvanen and the Kraken. So there you go. Now
There you go.
know.
This is interesting. That's the first game of a 2-game series at Bridgestone against the Kraken. They also play on Saturday at 1:00.
That's so weird.
It really is.
It's professional sports. Why are we playing 2-game series with 2 days in between?
A day. Thursday, Saturday.
Well, a day and a half because you only get half the day on Saturday. That's so weird. Anyway. All right. We talk hoops now because the guy Ziegler goes down with an injury last night in Tennessee, 75-57 win over Arkansas. And I'm curious what that's going to do to their tournament seeding opportunities. And boy, if only we had someone who could talk about tournament seeding and what goes into all of that decision. Oh, wait, we do. It's Jerry Palm in front of the world's largest drum. Jerry, welcome in, man.
Hi, thanks for having me on. How's it going?
Thanks. We're doing well, man. We're digging the drum. We always take note of the backdrops of our guests, and as a former member of the Purdue marching band, and I'm sure it has a name, but I don't know what it is. But that's solid.
Yeah, that's it. We just call it the big bass drum. So it doesn't have a name like,
but no,
or anything like that. It's just
the band has a name, I guess.
Does the band have a name?
It's the All-American Marching Band.
There we go.
Oh, look at that.
All-American. Okay.
Well, it's Indiana.
Some sports writer gave us that nickname back in the 30s, and we kept it.
I like it. Jerry, appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon. Looking at your freshly minted, updated brackets that came out earlier this morning on CBSSports.com. I don't know at this point if there's any real argument with the number ones, Alabama, Houston, Purdue, and Kansas. And I guess Alabama is the overall number one. Is that right?
Yeah, still, that's what the committee gave us a week and a half ago. And I haven't had anything happen where I think that order should change. Alabama, Houston, 2. Kansas jumped Purdue for 3 last week. And Purdue's still hanging on at 4.
Now, of the 2 seeds, which of those has the best chance to move up?
I would say most likely Texas, just because of the quality of their schedule and the chances for higher quality wins. Of course, the other side of that is you have a better chance of getting beat too because you're playing great teams every time. But the other team that's in that picture, I suppose, is UCLA. But I guess for me, UCLA has had a great season. They're 25-4 or something like that. The 4 I know is right. And their 4 losses are good. The loss at USC is the closest thing they have to a questionable loss to a team that may not make the tournament. But their best win is Maryland. And Maryland is the middle of the bracket team. And when you look at the quality of the wins that the 5 teams above them have, it's really hard to make a case for UCLA as a number 1 seed when, like Maryland, Purdue beat Maryland once, and that's no better than their 5th best win. So it's just not enough quality on the top end of their resume for them to chase a number 1 seed. Now they're going to get Arizona at home this weekend. They may get them again in the conference tournament, but that's the only team they can beat that gives them any juice at all in their league. So they're a great team, perfectly capable of winning a national championship. But I don't know about a number 1 seed for them, just given the lack of high-end quality wins compared to everyone else.
Please let it be Texas. Please let Texas, Alabama, and Kansas be number 1 seeds while Tennessee holds wins over all 3 of them. That would just make
no
my
kidding.
day.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well,
Jerry, you mentioned it too on your Twitter. You said, I think it may have been Arizona that you were talking about. If they get out of the first weekend, they could win it all. Tennessee feels like the same thing. If they can get out of the first weekend, they can win it all because they can beat great teams. They just got to get there.
They're just not consistent enough. Tennessee. I mean, on their best days, they've been extremely good. And then they have Colorado or, Vanderbilt or something like that. And
well, it's black and gold teams. Just don't let us play Purdue.
What's that?
Just don't let us play Purdue because y'all wear black and gold.
Yeah, well,
Colorado, Vanderbilt, Missouri.
Yeah, the recent history between Tennessee and Purdue has not been too favorable to Tennessee, so they probably don't want to see Purdue anyway. But
regardless of the sport, yeah.
So for Tennessee, I mean Arizona's extremely weird. They've got 5 top 20 wins. Well, actually, Indiana probably dropped out of the top 20 after last night, but 5 wins over teams that are going to be seated pretty high in the bracket, and 5 losses, all of which are the teams that will not see the bracket. So it's just, did they just lose focus? And what's going on? I mean, no one's going undefeated, so that's understandable. But it's 5 losses to teams that are just not that good. And all of their losses are to teams like that. It's a very weird resume, Arizona.
Jerry Palm, NCAA basketball bracketologist with CBSSports.com, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. And Jerry, obviously we've talked about Tennessee. Zakai Ziegler tears the ACL in his left knee early in last night's 75-59 win over Arkansas. We've seen late season injuries have an impact on team seeding. I guess the most obvious one was Kenyon Martin in Cincinnati a while back. But
that's like 2001, I think.
Yeah. How do you feel like, and I guess the good thing, they have an opportunity to play some games without Ziegler to, one way or the other, show what they're going to be about without him. But how would you expect that to impact Tennessee from a seeding standpoint?
Well, it actually kind of remains to be seen. But I just hate seeing stuff like that. And that happened to Purdue in 2010. Robbie Hummel, almost the same time of year, blew an ACL non-contact injury at Minnesota. That team was going to be a number 1 seed and was considered among the favorites to win the title. And of course, Purdue didn't get there. That actually was the year that VCU went first 4 to Final 4. But what happened to Purdue that year is probably a better case study for Tennessee. Purdue was one of the top teams in the country. They didn't quite play as well down the finishing stretch of the season. They still managed to finish off the Big Ten championship, regular season title. They ended up with a resume that looked like a 3 seed. The committee gave them a 4. And that's, I would say, typical of the consideration for something like that. What they say is they put a little more weight, the operative word there being little, on how the team played with the roster that they're taking into the tournament versus otherwise. In Kenyon Martin's case, they couldn't tell. They had 30 minutes of Cincinnati playing in their conference tournament after Kenyon Martin got hurt. And so you've got 30 minutes of shell-shocked Cincinnati losing their first conference tournament game, and you don't know. But they were going to be the overall number 1 seed, and they ended up at 2. It's not always that obvious, the consideration, but I can't think of a case where an injury to a player affected a team more than 1 seed line. And you would think if it was going to, those 2 teams would have been cases where that would have happened. So I don't think, it's not like Tennessee's going to get, well, first of all, it depends on how they play down the stretch. I mean, that's the key, because the committee's going to see what this team is like over the last 3-4 games, depending on how deep they can go in their conference tournament. So it's not going to have a great body of work, but they should have at least something of an idea of what this team is like. But they'll judge the entire season. The whole rest of the season counts, and that's not the only injury Tennessee has had. It's just the only one that we know so far is season ending. But that's that's kind of what the committee goes by. Is how did you do with the roster you're taking into the tournament, and then give that some context with obviously the rest of the season counting as well, but slightly more weight on how they'll do going forward. And obviously, we got hurt in this game and they won pretty comfortably. So that's a good start, but we'll see.
against a team that's still slated in that 8-9 range in the seed line. So that is certainly something to look at. Can Tennessee play its way back into a 2 seed, Jerry?
Yeah, sure. It depends on what other teams do, of course.
Sure.
But so that's the hazard of analyzing seeding in a vacuum, is you can't really do it because it always depends on what other teams do. But yeah,
Sure.
I mean, there are opportunities for Tennessee to pick up quality wins here at the, through the rest of this season. In regular season, I don't know who their last game is off the top of my head, but conference tournament,
Auburn.
of course. Say again. Oh, Auburn. Yes.
On the road at Auburn.
Right. And that's a team that really needs it because they're pretty bubbly. Auburn is. But so there are chances to pad your resume as you go forward. And obviously only 32 teams are going to win their conference tournament. All 36 at-large teams will lose their last game. So, you can't overreact to a loss either because a lot of the teams you're talking about are also losing their final game. So, but the schedule should give them opportunities to perhaps advance up to the 2 line. I don't think they'll get to a 1, but 2 line is certainly in play.
Jerry Palmer of CBSSports.com joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Jerry, I like the phrase bubbly. And around here with the recent spurt, there's some question as to whether Vanderbilt is any kind of way bubbly. Speaking of black and gold, what have they won? 5 of their last 6 of their last 7 now?
5 of 6.
Okay. Or did the early season just kind of do them in?
Yeah, I'm not really seeing a lot of hope. I mean, those wins are 2 against Florida, who's not going to the tournament, 1 against South Carolina, the worst team in the league, home against Auburn, a bubbly team, and then Tennessee. So they've got 1 especially valuable win among that group of teams, but they don't have a good record against good teams. They have 3 bad losses. It's just too late in the season for Vanderbilt to make the kind of a run and stack the quality of wins they need to be an at-large team. It's a case where by the time they may have gotten enough of those wins, they've won the conference and they're in anyway.
Sure. It's interesting. And one of their, quote, bad losses is a team that is likely going to win the SWAC. So at least there's that. The Grambling is as bad as that loss was at home.
Is the SWAC really that predictable, though?
No.
They might win the regular season.
Ever been?
Grambling?
Yes, they will.
Yeah.
They will win the regular season. I just thought that was interesting that, and it's a lot of weight has been put on that, but it's so funny that, well, maybe it's not as bad as we thought it was in November when it happened. But that's interesting. You may be right. It could be a Vanderbilt winning the SEC tournament to get in. But certainly a win against Kentucky this weekend will help. Oh, yeah.
Didn't Vanderbilt make a tournament run, win the tournament and get in? Or did somebody else do it and knock them out? I'm trying to remember now.
Vanderbilt made a run and beat Kentucky in the finals, did they not? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
I mean, a win this weekend at Rupp would certainly
it wouldn't hurt.
Make you feel better about the opportunity of winning the conference championship right here in your backyard in Nashville. So there's that. You mentioned Auburn. I see Mississippi State's among the last 4 in. Mm-hmm. Does Auburn losing tonight against Alabama and then at home against Tennessee on Saturday, are they just playing for their lives in the tournament?
If they lose both of these? If that happens, they would enter the SEC tournament 2-10 against quad 1 teams. Now, only 1 team has won 2 or more games against quad 1 teams and had as many losses as 10 and still made the NCAA tournament, and that was Richmond in 2004, I think. Mm-hmm. So when you have that bad of a record against quad 1, you're telling the committee, look, we're just not capable of playing NCAA tournament teams. That those are games that we can't win. So, and not all quad 1 wins are the same. Not all quad 2 wins are the same. For example, they've got Mississippi State at home in quad 2. If they make the tournament, that actually helps Auburn, unless it knocks Auburn out. But if they can get one of these two games, they're going to feel a lot better about themselves. If they lose both of them, Auburn has got some work to do in the SEC tournament, I think.
I have one more question if you want to get off the SEC real quick.
Go right
because
ahead.
obviously we're here in Middle Tennessee and Conference USA is a big deal. If by some chance Middle Tennessee State or UAB at the 3 seed was to win the Conference USA championship over Florida Atlantic, do they both get in? Is FAU got to win the conference championship, or have they done enough to get in that large bid?
I would say they probably have to win the conference. And the reason for that is they don't have a win over an at-large quality team. In fact, they haven't even played one.
Their best win is Florida at Gainesville, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And actually, North Texas rates higher than Florida in the net, although I wouldn't sit here and tell you North Texas would beat Florida. Maybe without Castleton they would. But, and then they lost at UAB. They beat North Texas and UAB at home. They've won at Charlotte. That's a quad 2 win. Lost at Middle. Lost at Mississippi. And Mississippi's not going anywhere. It would be hard to justify an at-large bid for Florida Atlantic. And they're in the top 20 of the net because they have really good scoring margins, and that's what the net's all about. But gosh, I guess I wouldn't drop over, pass out in surprise if they got in, but I think it's hard to justify it when you're looking at some of the wins that the teams that are competing with have.
Yeah,
they definitely couldn't lose to a team, quad 3 team. It's got to be North Texas or UAB, maybe Middle if they qualify as quad 2 on a neutral floor. That's pretty much the extent of the teams they could afford to lose to.
Yeah, and that's what we were thinking. It's interesting that Florida Atlantic, UAB barely lost. I think it was in overtime at Florida Atlantic, and then beat them again, like you said, at Birmingham, and then Middle beat them here. It has gotten much tougher over the last 3 weeks for Florida Atlantic, for sure. That is
conference plays hard for everybody.
Yeah,
I don't care what conference you're in. They're people know you and they know what you can do, and that's why you've got a team like Oral Roberts is the only team this year to finish its conference undefeated, because most teams don't do that, and it doesn't matter what league you're in.
Jerry Palm, bracketologist for CBS Sports, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Jerry, thanks for taking time with us today. We really appreciate it, man.
Sure, anytime. Good to talk to you.
Hey, you too, Jerry. Thanks.
Speaking of brackets and 2 seeds, Shaka Smart, Marquette. How about that?
Good for him.
Coach of the year, potentially. I mean, Marquette won like 2 games last year in conference.
Yeah, and they just won the Big East.
Yeah. So that's a pretty good day. Wow. Anyway, it is time for the weirdest and wildest news from across the world.
And Florida.
And always fun to get into this. But today, we've got some wedding news.
Oh, no.
My notes.
While you're stalling, I had one that Jody and I were discussing over the weekend, but I just realized it's from 2016.
Oh man!
So I don't know how it's just now getting legs or getting legs again.
What's the? You said you found some from 2016.
Yeah. Florida man, of course, throws an alligator into a Wendy's drive-through window.
Classic.
Pretty wild, pretty wacky.
This is from across the world, literally. We're in India, where a woman who died during her wedding rituals was replaced by her sister, who ended up marrying the groom instead.
Wow. Wait, hold on. That's a lot to unpack.
Yes.
The pinch wife, the backup wife,
The
second string wife. Yes.
The bride's name was Hetal and was the daughter of a man identified as Janabi Rathor. She was in the process of marrying Vishal, the son of Ranahabi Bhutabai.
And now you're just showing off.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah,
if that's right.
you're killing it. I mean, in a good way. In a good way.
The initial bride, the original bride, reportedly said she felt dizzy before she fainted and then died. The doctors told her she had died of a heart attack.
The doctors told her she had died of a heart attack.
She didn't hear.
Next man up mentality.
This may be the greatest. This is the best part of the story. Is that the doctors told her she died.
Hey, you are dead.
Hey, you didn't make it. Yeah.
It's okay.
Even as the family mourned the death, relatives proposed an alternative plan to ensure the wedding celebration continued, because never let a wedding go to waste.
Show goes on.
The show must go on, apparently.
The party don't stop.
Already paid the caterer. Okay.
You can party go.
Yeah.
The family, according to News 18, then decided to marry Hital's younger sister instead.
Wow.
And she was just like, "Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm down.
We all need. Yeah, cool. Got a king."
Now, and
DTM down to marry.
I don't know,
Oh yeah,
all the rituals in India,
Yes.
but sometimes arranged marriages, right? That's in that particular culture, there are a lot of arrangements. So I'm curious if they were just like,
Dude said, I'm marrying somebody today.
I'm not leaving until someone's my bride.
That's it. I'm putting a ring on somebody's finger today. Somebody's going home with me tonight.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's
That might have been one of the best ones.
all right, number 2.
Oh, but wait, there's more. Go
Number
ahead.
2, wedding, wild and wacky weddings. User Christy Who _.
Christy Who?
Christy Who _.
She related to my friends?
Probably. Shared pictures of her biggest wedding where she married her stepdad.
Oh no.
She then clarified it was the best decision she's ever made.
Oh no.
Further TikTok clips show the two recently welcomed their first child together. The internet showed the news that the woman's stepfather, Jessica, said, "Please tell me I'm not the only one who had this 2 times because I read it wrong." Once again, side-eye, death stare, 360 body, head turn, eyebrows raised in shock. I just got 7 billion people in the world. Wow.
I mean, honestly.
And this is, yeah.
Like, I love it.
Where
and this
was
is the
her
best.
mom while all this was going on?
I wonder, how's mom doing?
How's mom doing?
How's the family? Well, we're kind of.
I mean, this is not was not her stepdad when she married him.
This guy.
It's like a math problem.
Oh, at Christy Who _. Make sure to go check her out on TikTok.
Hard pass.
Oh man. And finally, from last week, a set of brothers were jailed after dressing up as elderly men in extremely lifelike lace masks to rob the jewelry store. Would have gotten away with it too if not for those meddling kids, because they left the masks in their trunk. As you can see there on the left. Yeah.
I knew that.
Left the masks in the trunk. Get rid of the masks.
That's all.
Burn
that's
them.
But they were planning on using them again because they were greedy.
See,
you're right.
Greed is what gets you.
It
Greed
is.
gets you every single time.
Every time.
I mean, what were they?
Don't do that.
Yeah, definitely. They were going to buy all the stamps in the world with that money.
Look, great disguises there. But anyway, that's Wild and Wacky Wednesday here. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us here. Thanks to Jerry Palm and Heather Williams for joining us today. Again, tomorrow we will talk with Greg Doyle of the Indianapolis Star right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. See you at 2 o'clock.